This is Doug and Cindy. Thanks for joining in today. Today we're going to do a quick COVID update. And we're not statisticians, but we've seen the news like you guys have, and we're going to report on what we've seen locally with various nursing homes and what some of our clients have told us. Cindy don't always wear the mask, but she's wearing it. When you're meeting with clients, or
when I meet with clients, yes. When I go into stores or a restaurant or anywhere that I'm around people, I just think it's a good idea.
It is.
You never know who is carrying the virus, so why not be safe?
We've all heard all kind of different stuff that even if you've had the vaccine, you can still be a carrier. We all know of people that we've heard of people in the news that even have been fully vaccinated that have died, from COVID. Usually they had something else going on, like General Colin Powell. He apparently died from COVID, but he had other things going on as well in other folks. But what we're going to talk about is what we have seen locally. I pulled some numbers off the internet. In new cases in January, in the U.S., there was around 229,000 new cases.
January of this year. In
Arkansas, our state, there were 81.
In January.
And then that went down. In June, it was down to like 14,000 U.S. and 5 in Arkansas. And then in August, there was a bump,
Summertime,
spring break, and kids out, and family gatherings and
swimming
everything.
Pools,
there was a bump.
Yeah.
So it went from like 14,000 in June up to 160,000 U.S. and then 64 in Arkansas. And then in November, it's going back down again. Thank God. Hope it continues to trend down. 23,000 in the U.S. and 0 in Arkansas, 0 new cases.
Relatively speaking, it's not so bad. In January, like Doug said, 229,000 new cases, but countrywide, only 1,441 deaths. So either people are getting on top of it quickly or the medications are good. 229,000 were diagnosed, 1,441 died. Small percentage of deaths. And in Arkansas, only 32, but it was a high percentage. 32 died in January. There were 81 new cases. So that was a lot. Skipping down to November, deaths countrywide, only 516. Now, it is tragic that anybody has to die from this, but that is a relatively small number when you consider how many people are out and about all day, every day around people, how many people are not vaccinated. That's a small number.
Yeah.
And in Arkansas?
2 in Arkansas.
2, only 2. So, again, it's tragic that any of them had to die, but the numbers are looking a lot better.
And we all probably know someone, you watching this, personally know people that have contracted COVID and maybe been very sick with COVID, maybe have died with COVID.
Matt, that works with us here in the office, recently his father-in-law was diagnosed with COVID, admitted to the hospital, and he passed away. He was young.
Yeah, he was younger than us.
He was younger than us. So.
And from what Matt said, like 2 weeks before, he was out, planning for Thanksgiving, running around doing stuff, and then contracted COVID, and then 2 weeks later, he's not with us anymore. So it is scary. It's something to be very careful, like Cindy said, when she's out, wearing a mask and being careful, still washing her hands, just being careful. Don't want to be paranoid, but we want to be careful.
Mm-hmm. So we've seen this impact some of our clients in their choice on where to live, either if they are elderly or their adult children may make the choice. They're staying at home a lot longer these days.
Yeah.
They will enter skilled care in a nursing home if they absolutely have to. And there are, we see all different kind of things happening at the nursing homes. The last one we went in, they had to take our temperature, ask us a bunch of questions, and you had to wear a mask, you had to put on gloves. And Matt, when his father-in-law was in the hospital, no one could come see him until right at the very end of his life. And then they had to wear all the personal protective gear to go into the hospital to see him. We've had one client tell us that for the last 19 months, the facility that their mom was in was basically locked down because they'd had a series of breakouts of COVID. And it had been 19 months since he had seen her. So
Wow.
it was a long time.
A long time. And, it's tough on the family members in the nursing home, tough on the kids and the spouses. I've heard countless stories of, spouses, wife could only see her husband by standing outside the window, waving to him through the window, and maybe a staff member would, let him use their phone, so it could talk to him by phone. And for, residents with Alzheimer's, even moderate Alzheimer's, it just loses a lot in the translation. It's just not the same at all as being there. And there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. Some facilities are fairly open. You can, after, you're scanned for temperature, you answer the standard COVID questions on admission, like, have you had a fever, been around anyone with a fever, around anyone with COVID, have you
Traveled? Have you traveled?
Traveled, yeah, overseas, and all of the standard questions that I'm sure all of us have answered, which are just being careful. But and then you can go in and visit. Sometimes it's limited. I had a client just last week. Her husband's in the hospital, and they only allowed one visitor per 24-hour period. One family member, immediate family member, visitor per 24-hour period. Some nursing homes are like that. Some have, limited time slots, like 30 minutes, allocated time to visit with your loved one. Some are not that strict. So it's different in different areas. It's even different in the same town from facility to facility sometimes.
It is. So if you're considering placing a loved one in a nursing home, ask them, do they have a current outbreak of COVID within the facility? If not, when was the last one? How do they communicate with the family members who are of the residents in the nursing home? Are they following the guidelines? Are they using the proper protective gear? Some of the questions that I'd ask for sure.
Check with the facility first before admission, and then, maybe talk to other family members that have loved ones there, and maybe ask their history. Do they have any folks with COVID now? How many have they had before, and what's it like now? How is the facility communicating with residents? I know a lot of facilities call all of the families every time there's a new outbreak, to keep them updated. New outbreak meaning even one person with COVID in the facility. So this talk to the facility to make sure that you're comfortable before you put someone, admit someone. Comfortable, maybe it's not a good word, but comfortable enough to do it. Sometimes it's a tough decision. It's not an easy decision. You have maybe a loved one with advanced Alzheimer's. You've tried your best to keep them at home as long as possible. Family just can't do it anymore. Maybe they don't have enough hours or enough family members available. Family's got to work. Maybe there's not enough money available to hire 24-hour-a-day non-medical caregivers. So at some point in time, even though this may be a risk, you just got to make a tough decision. So at least you can do some due diligence and talk to various facilities before you make a decision like this.
And the person that I would talk to in the facility would be the administrator, specifically about the COVID issue. So I'm sure other people within there could answer that question, but I would feel most comfortable speaking with the administrator.
So I'm really curious, if you're watching this today, what your experience has been. Do you have a loved one? To start with, are they at home? And have you taken any extra precautions for family members that come in, or for maybe outside caregivers that come in? If so, please type us a comment and let us know if they're in a facility like an assisted living facility or a skilled nursing facility. What's been your experience there? Or what protocol is in place before you can visit, and how many family members can visit, and how long can you visit?
You know, yesterday I spoke with a lady that works for an in-home non-medical company, and had asked them if they could get a caregiver for someone in a particular part of the state. And usually, if I call them, they can get someone there within 48 hours. But I spoke with the lady from the company, and she says, you know, we can hire, and we still are now hiring people. They get their CNA training so they can go in and provide the care that is needed. But a lot of the younger ones will not get the COVID shot. So they won't place people, the caregivers that are not vaccinated, with a family if the family doesn't want someone that's not vaccinated. So
Right.
It's kind of having an effect on limiting the caregivers.
So obviously this is not a situation where there's right or wrong, or there's all sorts of opinions out there, and it's tough to know what to do.
I think it's making families be caregivers longer now.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Please let us know what you've done. If you can type a comment and let us know, please do so. If you're watching this on a YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And please leave your comment. We thank you for watching today, and we hope to visit with you again soon. Have a good day.
Thank you for being a caregiver for your loved one. You're making a huge difference in their life.